Hey everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Insult me then forbid me from doing my job while we have an influx of customers? Alright, have fun with that. Here's the cast for this story. CO is cat owner, F is friend, co-worker, BM is bubble tea manager, she was responsible for all the drinks and such, KM is kitchen manager, me is yours truly. So this happened about half a year ago. I got a job at a local bubble tea / dessert place, which had a weird thing with it. This is for context. So the place was technically a bubble tea place and we served desserts too, but we also had a dinner menu too that was made in a separate kitchen. I mostly worked during the pre-opening period where half of the menu items were missing, but owner decided not to bother to cross them out or cover them in any way. We had about 20 to 24 drinks on the menu, half of which were bubble teas. I worked at the bar and would be the one responsible for making the bubble tea alongside with bubble tea manager. Behind the bar with me was my friend, who was responsible for the desserts. I need to point out that the space between the edge of the bar, cupboards and stuff, and the wall behind it is barely a meter. So it was very tight in there, important later. To start off, neither of us were given recipes on how to make the desserts or the drinks and were expected to know how to make them from seeing bubble tea manager make them once. I'm for real, friend and I literally bugged owner for a week before he gave us access to the recipes. So mistakes would happen, but would be learned from. So yeah, I made a couple minor mistakes, never freaked up an order, since I wasn't allowed to check the recipes behind the counter and this was also during exam week. So you can get the picture. Besides that, owner was known to regularly insult employees, annoy customers with his talk about how great the menu is, and would stand guard and leer at employees while they were working just to tell them how wrong they were and how they were supposed to do it this way. Also, he didn't know how to make anything on his own menu, besides taking the ice cream from the ice cream machine. Anyways, on to the story. One day, owner came into work in a really bad mood. He was moping around all day and would barely talk to anyone and just send glares at the employees. Bubble tea manager was there for half of the day and would leave closer to rush hour. This would be important soon. We get a couple of orders early in the day, and I had a couple of hard to remember recipes written on a small note and hidden behind the counter. When I made one of those hard to remember drinks, I'd just use the note to double check that I got everything right. Owner notices the note, crumbles it and throws it away, almost shouting at me not to do that again. Okay, no need to yell in front of the customers. I proceed to keep making the drinks with him standing over my shoulder in the crawl space we called a bar. He watches me as a hawk and doesn't notice bubble tea manager leaving to get some supplies. Rush hour is beginning. I keep making drinks and don't mind owner behind me and eventually completely forget that he's still behind me. Until I get hit by one of those harder drinks. I mix it up with a different one. We had a couple of them that were the same minus one item. I notice it and see that it's an easy fix, just take off the cap. We had snap-on caps for the drinks and add another topping. Easy peasy. Owner sees that, reaches to stop me. He pulls my arm, the one holding the drink. Since I forgot that he's behind me, I jumped and the drink half spills on the ground. Sorry, owner, I forgot that you were behind me. Let me clean that.
No, you clearly don't know what the heck you're doing here. I don't need another idiot behind the bar. Go help kitchen manager with something. I don't care. Bubble tea manager will take over.
Now, I was about to point out that bubble tea manager is gone, and I am the only one who knows how to make the drinks besides kitchen manager, who was working in the kitchen, and my friend, who was busy making desserts. And we are in the middle of rush hour. Until I hear him mutter something under his breath.
Freaking R word.
I close my mouth immediately, put on my best customer service smile and promptly oblige with owner's request. Of course, my bad. I head over to the kitchen where kitchen manager doesn't really pay attention to me, simply gesturing to the stack of dishes. I begin to proceed to wash the dishes, putting my headphones in, waiting for owner. I went through about 5 to 6 songs before I feel a tap on my shoulder. I turn. Guess who it is? I take off the headphones and turn the faucet off and look over at owner.
Why are you still here? Where is bubble tea manager?
She went out for a supply run. Why?
We have about 10 customers and 5-ish takeouts that are waiting for their drinks and they're still not made.
Oh, that's very unfortunate.
I want you to get back to the drink station.
I'm sorry, I can't. You kicked me out and told me to help kitchen manager. Now I'm busy with washing all the incoming dishes from all the customers. I actually need some help with drying them since we don't have too many plates to go around with. We actually had about 40 plates. So I'm busy on my side. Owner just looks at me with a blank stare, knowing that, yeah, we are freaking understaffed and we need those freaking plates. He leaves and I continue washing the dishes. From what I know, he forced friend to make the drinks too. I apologized to him and took him for a dinner later, slowing down the dessert output as well. Thankfully, bubble tea manager arrived half an hour later and was able to help out with the drinks.
Then everyone stood up and began clapping.
I didn't get fired or written up to my own surprise, but at least I wasn't insulted again. I did leave the place later because owner was an actual runt. From what I heard, friends stayed there for a couple more months and witnessed the place go through several employees in a very short period. Wonder why? Obviously, the manager here was pretty incompetent about how to train his actual staff and let them operate. So my question for you is, what would you have done if you were the manager to make sure that operations ran smoothly? Let me know in the comments below. Dad told me to have all my mess off the bedroom floor. When I was a child, 8-year-old female, I was a very messy kid. Clothes, books, toys would be strewn all over every part of my room. It was rare that you could see the carpet. My parents hated having this mess in their house and asked multiple times for me to clean up. Dad eventually got fed up, came into my room and said, "You have half an hour to get everything off the floor or it is going in the bin." Sure thing, Dad, I can do that. In a panic, I ran around my room grabbing everything off the floor. It went into wardrobes, on my bed, on my desk, into drawers. The bed was so piled high with stuff you couldn't sit on it. The drawers barely closed and my desk was covered. But half an hour later, when my dad came in with the bin, everything was off the floor. He stood there kind of gobsmacked for a minute, then laughed so hard his sides hurt. He then gave me the rest of the day to clean up properly. Didn't say you had to organize, just get it up off the floor. To be fair, if I was 8 and threatened with that, I'd probably do the same thing. What about you guys? Want to throw me into the job without properly training me and be an a-hole? Okay. This isn't going to be a very long one, but I was telling somebody about this and said, you have got to put that up because you are a malicious little a-hole yourself. Me is me, AHB is a-hole boss, CB is cool boss. I started working for a company about 6 or 7 years ago we'll call Black Eagle Company. I very much enjoyed working there. There was only ever about 6 workers, including myself, out in the warehouse. I wanted to start getting higher pay and have more responsibilities, so I decided to ask my boss, a-hole boss, to train me on the shipping line. Was that ever a mistake? So on my first day after he finally decides to do that, we went over and I started working a very high-end line of shipping for the biggest consumer of the company. I sat and listened to him as he told me some of the different things to do and shipping to this company because they were very particular about how they liked things being shipped. A-hole boss says,
"Now this is what you need to do. You need to follow these rules I've written down here in order to ship these correctly. Do not mess up. If you do, I will take you out this line."
No problem, a-hole boss, but don't you think I need to have a few more pointers than just this little 2 minutes be all that you gave me?
No, you don't need to know any more. That's not how I was trained. I'm training you the way I was trained. I was thrown into it and that's what you're going to be done.
Well, don't you think that is a recipe for disaster?
I don't really care. But you just better not mess anything up. Also, any liquid needs an MSDS sheet before it is shipped out. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir. I will definitely do just that. So a-hole boss went back over to his desk, which was behind a few racks and catty corner from my location. But if he wanted to, all I'd have to do is scoot over and he could watch me and keep an eye on me like a hawk. I'm standing there, done shipped several items on my line, and notice a great way to get back at this guy with a little bit of malicious compliance. And petty revenge, maybe? I sat there on my computer looking up for 10 minutes an MSDS sheet for a particular liquid.
Justin, I've been watching you for the last 10 or 15 minutes and you ain't done nothing. All I've seen you do is stare at the computer typing away but not even shipping anything. What the F is wrong with you? What are you doing anyways over here?
I'm just simply doing what you told me to do. I'm looking up an MSDS sheet for some liquid before I ship it. and I can't seem to find the right MSDS sheet for this.
Well, fine then. What MSDS sheet are you looking for? For what liquid?
Cue the malicious compliance. I'm trying to find an MSDS sheet for the 50 cases of Aquafina water. I seriously thought that my boss was having a stroke as red as he got, and with the amount of silence that he put off was just scary in of itself because I thought he had either a stroke or an aneurysm.
You are the biggest god-blank idiot I have ever seen in my lifetime. Are you mother effing serious? I mean, seriously, I have never heard of anybody so dumb. MSDS sheet for water? Water does not get an MSDS sheet.
Cool Boss was behind us, and I see him to my right sitting at his desk, biting his bottom lip, holding his face, trying not to laugh. How are you going to get mad at me? I did exactly as you said. You said any liquid costs to get an MSDS sheet before I ship it. Those were your words. I've never done this and you know that. So don't be yelling at me because of something that you told me to do.
Well, I thought you were smart enough to know that water is not hazardous, but I guess you're too dumb to know that.
Cool Boss laughing hysterically at this point. Cool Boss says,
Hey ho boss, now you need to just calm down. You did tell him any liquid needs to have an MSDS sheet before it gets shipped. Just calm down. This is what happens when you don't train someone properly on shipping.
A-hole Boss just scoffed and told Cool Boss train me if he thought that he could do better on that line, then turned around and walked back over to his desk. Me and Cool Boss was talking and Cool Boss said,
You know, Justin, I have a feeling you already knew that water didn't need an MSDS sheet, am I right?
The possibilities are endless, but never for certain.
Justin, you are a malicious butthole. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen anybody do in my lifetime here, but please do not do that again.
I will try my hardest. Me and A-hole Boss actually did end up getting along later on once we figured out each other's points of no return, as it were. And trust me, there are some stories I got from this place that will make all of y'all laugh hysterically yourself over some of the idiots I did have to deal with later on. Obviously OP and most people would assumedly know what to do in the situation, but if you're training them, don't give them the exact step they need and then they need to follow that step. I don't think it should be too surprising that they get hung up on it for a while, although I do think it would have been a good trait if they started asking questions. But that wasn't the intent here. I wanted food. I got food. This instance of malicious compliance actually happened to me, not me to someone else. In my family, we are known to be smart butts to each other, like most families, and I personally never waste an opportunity to be one. My mom always liked to ask me, "What do you want to eat?" And I would answer the only way that was acceptable: food. She normally would roll her eyes and on occasion would ask, "What kind of food?" which was met with the answer of, "The good kind." This had gone on for as long as I can remember, and honestly, don't know why she never caught on, but nevertheless, I enjoyed it. Until just the other day. I had just gotten home, and currently she is staying with me since my dad is self-quarantining due to the thing we all know about. We talk for a few and talk about our days when she asks the question, "What do you want to eat?" Me with a poop-eating grin. "Oh, you know, food." Mom smiles back. "Oh, okay, I'll get started. Go ahead and get changed." This was weird as there was no resistance. No complaint about me being a smart butt, nothing. But I didn't think anything of it. I got changed and went back over to the table and sat down. She walked over with a paper plate and then began opening a can of dog food, which plopped in perfect cylindrical shape right in the middle of my plate. What? "Oh, you said food, but didn't specify what kind. So there you go, enjoy." I have to say I'm proud of the wit for one. Well played, Mom. Well played. So I imagine the next time that this question rolls around, the answer will be some form of human food or food meant for human consumption. But good on OP's mom for finally giving it back to OP for ribbing her all that time saying food when they asked what they wanted to eat. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is which of these stories was the most interesting to you and why? Let me know which story was the most interesting of the day in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.